For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a brand new tent from Dometic. So with me here today I have got the Dometic Santorini FTX range of tents. So the FTX Santorini is available in two different sizes. They do a 2x4 or a 4x8. Both are basically in a TC fabric, so it's a polycotton material. And essentially the design of each size is exactly the same. The difference being is obviously how big the main kind of living / sleeping area is going to be. So this is worth saying, this is definitely more probably of a niche kind of tent. It's basically designed more for mainly like the Australian market, where they have a lot more hotter summers than say we do in the UK. So there's a lot of features on there. It's definitely more geared to that. But for me, I personally see it as quite a nice little fit for the right customer, even in the UK. So one thing to note on this, which you don't see on any other tent, for example, is again, there's not really any PVC anywhere, just because PVC naturally kind of entraps the heat, like a greenhouse kind of point, so it gets very hot inside of here. Even with polycotton material, by removing the PVC windows itself, you are again going to quite happily drastically reduce the internal temperature a bit, to be fair. Maybe not drastically, but certainly reduce it anyway. So what we've got really is a really quite nice, small and compact. With me here I've actually got is the 4x8, and it basically refers to having the capability of sleeping 4 people or 8 people. So the premise of that being is that you have you can buy additional bedroom which will sleep 4, but traditionally kind of more in the kind of the down under, should we say, naturally you don't have an actual physical bedroom compartment, so that's why you don't have it as standard with the Santorini as such. So you buy that additionally, mainly because they'll pretty much sleep in wherever it is, very much more open, similar to kind of how kind of the scouts kind of run. You have a tent, you remove the bedrooms, wherever they find a space, they crash, and that's kind of the same kind of ethos with the Santorini. So with me here, like I say, is the 4x8. So when we go down to the 2x4, what you see is actually you lose, it basically splits the main living area in half. So you've still got your mesh panels on the side, the canopy built on, so it makes it a really nice small and compact unit. So what you also get is quite, for a polycotton tent, something that doesn't weigh an awful lot. The smallest version, so the 2x4, weighs around about 22.3 kilograms. The model I have with me here, the 4x8, weighs about 28.3, I think it is, kilograms. So again, it's all below 30 kilograms for a polycotton tent. Perfect for me, I think, personally, I think for couples, or those small families who want a bit of a smaller pack size and keep that pack size and weight down. Definitely your kind of living area is more orientated to being outside. So you've got this canopy which obviously creates that great area for sort of shelter away from the sun or if the rain as well as such. Only available in TC fabric, so the polycotton material. So again, all about being breathable and long lasting in those sort of high UV levels. You're definitely going to see that, and because you've got that breathable material means that on a warm day inside of there, it's going to be a lot more comfortable environment to be in, especially without that PVC windows as previously mentioned. So the caveat to that obviously is a little bit more money. You pay for what you get, certainly with that. It's a nicer, quieter fabric, so you haven't got a sort of synthetic kind of flapping noise, and naturally it has a lot stronger sort of waterproof level, but you do have to go through a weathering process before you go and use it in anger. We've got loads of features that are kind of renowned for Dometic, be it kind of each beam is pumped up very simply and easy, so it's quick to pitch. I pitched this model on my own, I think in about 9 minutes, which and I must admit I was actually very surprised at how simple and quick it was. And it's quite, I wouldn't say it's a joy to pitch, but it's really quite nice overall. And I think, yeah, I don't know, it just seemed to go up very easily. It didn't take an awful lot of effort. There wasn't a lot of pumping in the tubes, because they're not overly that big, but you still get structure. So for me, I did find it quite remarkably simple. And I pitch tents a lot. So other things we've got which are single point pegging points as well. So a point where you peg the guide point, which pegs the base, but also pegs the guide at the same time. So it means reduces the amount of pegs you have to do, making, again, life a little bit simpler and easier to go. Now, each beam is done individually, as seen from our pitching video, and the valves are all located on the right-hand side, the opposite side to the camera. They're just a generic kind of Boston valve, and a manual stirrup pump comes applied as standard with the tent, so pretty much comes with everything you necessarily need. Generally, it being a 3 meter width, it's a good sort of ample size, and almost in many ways is kind of a bit of a sister to kind of the Boracay that Dometic have in a normal range. Difference being you haven't got that rear storage built in. It's just basically more like a true tent in that form. Now, that does mean actually that in terms of overall size, it is a bit more compact in that sort of point of view. I mean, your main body, for example, in the 2x4 is about I think it's about 2.20 meters, whereas it sort of doubles to about 4.40 meters, I think it is, in the model we've got here, and then plus your canopy area. So it is a small, compact size. There are different bedrooms available for both the models, which we'll go into when we look in the inside in just a moment. The other thing I wanted to point out as well is things like your webbing straps are located in the bottom. So again, it makes it easier to tension it without having to repeg. You've got color coordinated points as well. So you've got kind of an orange point, which is the front, and the same for the back as well. And also you've got Dometic stable kind of pegging guide points. So there's little markers there to say you fold the back into that point, and that gives you the perfect width to fit it back in the bag. Personally, I disagree kind of with the concept of how they're looking to you for packing away. We do it a different way, as you can see probably from our pitching videos, which we personally find is a bit easier. Not only have you got the webbing straps on the side, but storm straps on the front and also the back. So you've got 3 at the front, 3 at the back. So again, it's really designed to make it really nice and bracing and get that roof looking absolutely taut. One of the things, well, we've got a big mesh panel right at the back, so you can have the option to sort of have the ventilation point, and every single panel on the tent has mesh to it as well. So again, you can have that real ultimate amount of airflow on those warmer days, and they've all bug protected as well. So when you have a light on at the middle of the night, you haven't got the bugs all coming in again, which is definitely more of a bigger criteria for the Australian market. But I'll tell you what, let's kind of swing the camera around and have a bit more of a look about the tent and talk from a load more features that we have on offer. So if we come just in a touch. So now we're kind of looking a bit more in front of it here. First thing you can see is obviously we've got the 3 panels itself, the 2 fixed ones either side, and then your mesh or your actual main sort of door. Now, to get the complete sort of thoroughness of the zips, what they've had to do is create a sort of D-style door. So that way there's a little bit of a lip in and out, but the main thing is about getting that protection from the bug and get that thoroughness. So that is one thing to bear in mind. You've got your normal sort of door built on that additionally as well, and you've got toggle points that are sort of nice and neatly go back. And it's just a kind of simple drawstring setup where you just get it like so. All of the zip pullers are kind of slightly oversized. They've got those little Toblerone kind of parts with the detail of the Dometic in it, and the zips are quite sort of robust. A mesh panel located just above the door to help with the sort of airflow as well. And the windows we have either side still have your kind of material curtains. They are zipped, so you can obviously get a bit more flexibility. So, for example, you can take it up sort of halfway, or of course fully away, and fully's up, and then it sort of zips really quite nice and neatly. So you do have a lot of flexibility there. And then what you have is a little storage pocket located kind of at the bottom, so you can roll the panel directly down. And then again, you've got little toggle points just to kind of keep that curtain quite nice and neatly at bay. Excuse me. On the side windows, what we also have are a lower level ventilation, so you've got a really nice big mesh panel either side as well. And again, that vent can basically be stayed at all the time, so even when, for example, if the weather does turn, you can still have sort of increased circulation, so you haven't got to compromise with that. So that's one thing you do say, certainly probably one of the cons for the UK market, is when you come to if it's a rainy day like we get in the UK, for example, what you're going to essentially then do is you would probably zip up the side panels, so you wouldn't necessarily get vision out of there, but because you've got that canopy at the front, you can still get visibility at the front. So that is one quite nice thing about having the canopy on this particular model. There's no sides or anything for the canopy, it is as it is. Again, it's just creating that kind of nice sort of environment that's very open, and that's the main kind of concept of it. So in here, what we now have is, I'm not sure you can quite see, is we've got the bedroom compartment, which I said is an optional extra. So with the 4x8, there's the option of a 4-berth bedroom, so a 2 and a 2 with a zip divider, or of the 2x4, you've got the option of a 2-berth. Now, I can't see really why you couldn't put the 2-berth in this if you really wanted to. I wouldn't put the 4-berth in the smaller tent, but having half the bedroom space wouldn't be a bad thing, or you just untoggle half it and utilize it. The bedroom actually itself is a kind of polyester material, so again, probably if you're looking in Australia, you probably wouldn't go for something like that, but certainly for the UK market, yeah, it's still quite a nice little thing. If you want a bit more of a cozier environment, so it's going to also help to cut a bit of light out, so it's not going to seem as bright in the morning, so that is going to help, but also gives you a bit of privacy away from, you know, if you want sort of area away from the kids, that works really nicely as well. Two separate doors either side, zip dividers in there. You've got a full mesh part to it as well, which is really quite nice. So you can get a little bit of light in if you really want to. Or you can use the actual blind that's located in there. And it's kind of like I wouldn't say it's like actually blackout, but I'd say it is very dark when you sort of zip yourself inside there. So that's really going to help, like I said, to cut out the early morning lights. In the bedroom itself, you have got storage pockets, and the door can easily roll away into its own little kind of point down there. And the bedroom slopes away quite nice and neatly as well, with storage pockets on the side. Storage pockets located at the front here again to help declutter the main part of the tent if you're using it in that general convention. In fact, let's bring the camera in actually, kind of give you a bit more of a feel for it. So, as we kind of step into the tent, you can probably see the bedroom sections. Like this is an optional extra. You can see how dark it is inside there, especially in comparison to the outside. So as the camera adjusts, low level ventilation, not only on the outside, so you can see that coming through, but storage pockets down the side. Divider between two sections is basically completely zipped, so that way it feels like a separate bedroom, but you have the flexibility that you can fully open up and let it run directly in between. This bedroom is exactly the same, and a good sort of depth to the bedroom as well, so you can quite happily get your sort of normal sort of air beds in there quite happily. Little details as well I do quite like is little things like your point for hanging a lantern, so it actually is a metal kind of carabiner clip. Little Velcro tabs that basically lead down to cable entry points, and you've got them on both sides, so it doesn't matter which side the actual your main hookup's coming in, you can more than happily accommodate it. You also got Velcro on this point here, and that's designed for Dometic sort of flexible saber lights, so that way you can have lighting without actually having a lantern physically hanging down on it as such. Now, obviously, if you didn't go for the a bedroom as additional, you would just be then sleeping kind of in this sort of, I wouldn't say it's a shell, but just the part itself. So as we see it here, if you can imagine, if you went for the 2x4, this is the internal space you'd be looking at. So you've got a small little area, enough to sort of sleep from sort of head to toe, and you know, probably put a two-berth bedroom in one side, leave you a bit more of an entrance directly in. For me, I definitely see the 4x8 the better of the model, just because for the UK market anyway, you've got a bit more flexibility and a bit more space, which I think works well. Not only have you got the hanging points on the beam above the bedroom, but you've also got it here, same concept, Velcro, hanging points for the cable to run down to your cable entry, and then also your hanging point for clip. And again, voila, same principle on the front. So again, you've got ultimate amount of flexibility. You have lighting outside, but really create that overall outside space. As we come outside, we can have a little 360 around it. Sits really nicely. I think to me it looks, I really do love the look of it. I do truly. Around the back we can see also the storm straps, which we previously mentioned. We've got this massive big vent at the back here as well, so you can have that fully kind of sort of weather protected, so the rain's not going to come directly in, and you still get an airflow directly up. Failing that, what you can do is you can actually unzip that, roll it up fully, so then what you have is a full mesh vent at the back. So again, that's going to really help increase the airflow. And again, for those down under, essentially I think that's, you know, really going to help to reduce the overall heat inside of there. But it's like I said, as I said at the start of the video, it's not going to be for everyone. It's definitely more of a niche product, but for me, I think if you're sort of like a small family, or for couples who really want a great quality tent, but not necessarily want a huge amount of space, for me, I think it's like a much better version of like a Bream. Definitely, like I said earlier, a comparison to the Boracay, but having that built-on canopy and a similar sort of weight, but probably a little bit more money without the PVC and things like that and the features. I think generally it's a really nice alternative. It feels quite spacious for what it is, and like I said, from the pack size, I think I was quite happy. But for more information, or if you want any more details on the features, specification, pack weights, pack sizes, anything like that, you can check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website. We've got more information located there, as well as our pitching video, which you can always check out as well. But finally, it's always great to have feedback from yourselves. So by all means, comment in the box below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest sort of kind of videos we actually then post. But we always love to hear from you guys and what you think. Complaints, tweaks, where improvements, how useful or not useful you do find these videos. So any feedback is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. But that's kind of been our video review on the brand new Dometic Santorini FTK in the 2x4 or the 4x8. But that's in all. So hopefully we shall see you again soon in our next Attwoolls video.